Jonas. Dear Mr. Prime Minister. Dear guests, our teams, dear journalists. I am glad to meet with the Prime Minister of Norway, and these are always very substantive and very good meetings. Norway has always been one of the strongest defenders of life in Ukraine. I thank each and every Norwegian for this. And thank you, Jonas, personally. Thank you very much. We have gone through different stages of this war: Russia's war against Ukraine, Russia's war against the whole of Europe. We have done a lot together in defense, in diplomacy, in the economy, and in the humanitarian sphere. Norway is providing us with major energy support, and that is a fact. In many ways, it is thanks to our cooperation with Norway that we managed to get through this winter and the previous ones, each of which Russia is just trying to turn into a weapon against our ordinary people, against life in Ukraine in general. And Norway is also among the most active investors in the Pearl program. And this is also a fact. This program allows us to buy air defense primarily for our systems. As of today, that is already $970 million within the Pearl program. I ask that you continue to support this, in fact, essentially irreplaceable program. For now, we still don't have enough Patriots, production in Europe is insufficient, and in America as well. Nevertheless, we are working on this with all partners. Norway, as I said, is one of the leaders in this program. We also greatly appreciate every military package provided by the Norwegians. The long-term nature and predictability of Norway's support, your annual support packages, your financial support, greatly help our defense planning in this terrible war and all of our actions. I am grateful that after February 24, 2022, Norway made such a principled, such a strong choice, not simply in favor of Ukraine, not simply in favor of Ukrainians, but in favor of what Europe means. It is a community of nations that truly value life, human life, and respect peace among independent nations. And this is exactly how Europe should remain, a continent like this, a real defender of life and of the rights of people and nations. I thank you, Jonas, and thank you again to all of Norway. Today we spoke about continuing our joint work. We will work on a new level of our partnership, on a strategic partnership between our countries. We have actually already reached this level. I informed about the situation regarding our protection, about the front, about the needs of air defense. We discussed our diplomatic work. New meetings are being prepared in a trilateral format with the Americans and with the Russians. Of course, we will coordinate substantively with Europe. We are grateful that Norway is ready to continue helping us with energy, and not only helping, but also working more on common ideas. Today we discussed some possible joint projects for the future, and some of these prospects in energy. We discussed what can strengthen us. The energy ministers of our states will be in contact, and there will be a corresponding agreement on energy cooperation. We thank Norway for supporting our sanctions work and Europe's sanctions work. It helps. I also want to highlight our cooperation in weapons production. We greatly appreciate that Norway has provided Ukraine with NASAMS. I say it every time, and we are very grateful for it. We count on our relations remaining at the same level that will allow us to produce weapons jointly. And not only Ukraine needs it. I am sure that everyone on our continent who works for real security needs it. It is important that one of the most effective formats for coordinating joint work has become our NB8 format, Nordic and Baltic states together with Ukraine. We have regular meetings like this, many joint results, and a good example for all other partners of how to make their nations and Europe stronger. Thank you, Jonas, for this visit. For these 2 days of work, support, agreements, coordination. I'm so glad to see you again. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, dear Volodymyr. Let me first say that this is the first time I have had such an opportunity to come and stay here for an extra day. Yesterday I was here with our colleagues from Europe, from the Nordic and Baltic countries, and it was important for me to stay in order to work out bilateral relations between Norway and Ukraine. As Prime Minister, I am pleased to convey to you, Mr. President, and to the Ukrainian press, an expression of our solidarity, support, and sympathy on behalf of the people of Norway. I can do this because there is unanimous support from all political parties in my parliament for our work regarding Ukraine. There is not a single party that would be on the margins. We are all together. Therefore, it reflects the support of the people of Norway for the struggle you are in. And you are right, we had a historic decision in February 2022 to actively support the defense of another country that was under attack. And since then, we have been able to support you within the modest efforts a small country can make. We provided support from our own stocks. But this relationship has grown into something new and important. Today we are among those who support what you need most, air defense, and we will do everything to strengthen it. Drone production capabilities, long-range artillery, as well as equipment and capabilities in the maritime domain. Norway is a maritime nation. Overall support for 2026 is coming to around $8 billion. I think this will represent about 20% of the assistance Ukraine will receive this year. And we are trying to focus it as best we can, in line with Ukraine's needs. What we are seeing now is that Ukraine's own industrial development, based on the experience you are gaining in the field. It is highly relevant for your partners to learn from. Today, the President and I agreed to establish what we call a strategic partnership between Norway and Ukraine, which we will develop together across various areas that can be mutually beneficial. Mr. President, you mentioned energy. Norway and Ukraine are energy states. Yesterday our energy ministers showed how your energy sector comes under attack because of Russian strikes. We are doing what we can to support your recovery. We have also supported gas purchases to provide gas to Ukrainian households and industry. Since 2022, more than $1.7 billion has been provided for investments in recovery and decentralization of the energy sector, as well as energy efficiency and nuclear safety. Let me also say that I always tell people in Norway, and no one wants peace in Ukraine more than Ukrainians do. And our message is this: there can be no peace without Ukraine at the table, without Ukraine's position and its ability to make free decisions. We support your efforts, the efforts of your diplomats, to reach an agreement you can defend as a democratic state, with your integrity, and you can count on us to be with you. Again, this is a partnership that is developing over time. We have more than 100,000 people from Ukraine who live in Norway. They impress us, they contribute to our economy, and I hope that one day they will be able to say that they can go to Ukraine and contribute to the development of Ukraine. And, Mr. President, glory to Ukraine.
We now move to the questions and answers. The first question is from Ukrinform.
Tetiana Fasova, Ukrinform. Question for Mr. President. Please tell us. In recent days Russia has once again renewed nuclear threats. And Putin personally has joined in the groundless accusations about the proliferation of nuclear weapons. What do you associate this new surge in nuclear rhetoric with? With negotiations or failures at the front? And a question for the Prime Minister of Norway. Tell us please, Mr. Støre. This winter Norway has been helping Ukraine very actively, including purchasing gas. Do you plan to continue this support next winter? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Usually, when Russia fails to win on the battlefield, they start looking for nuclear weapons on the territory of Ukraine. There are no nuclear weapons in Ukraine. Unfortunately, you all know the circumstances. When Ukraine had these weapons and when it no longer did, how it happened and who it happened because of. And that's why I think that this is preparation for the trilateral meetings as well. It is some kind of political pressure. There is also, probably, some information that was in the media about how Europe is thinking about a nuclear umbrella. So this may simply be rhetoric, Russia's response. It seems to me they are always playing dangerously with these words about nuclear weapons, and I would very much like other countries, other nuclear states, first and foremost the United States, to respond and, it seems to me, send them an appropriate message.
Let me first of all say that threats of nuclear weapons are unacceptable. It should be very clear. Ukraine was attacked. It is being struck massively with conventional weapons, civilians are being hit. And I agree with Mr. President that any Russian threats must be rejected. As for energy, as I said, we are energy states, we have cooperated in the past. And now we can work on recovery, strengthening and repairing energy infrastructure in Ukraine. We have done this together with European partners, and we are also ready to finance gas purchases that can go into storage. In two capacities that exist here in Ukraine, to provide this element of stability in the supply of energy carriers to industry and to people.
This is a question for the President of Ukraine. This was a very difficult winter in Ukraine, with many massive strikes. You spoke very clearly about air defense needs and how difficult it is to obtain enough air defense. Could you underline which components of Norway's contributions have been effective? And what this winter would have looked like without such support? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, we had strong support from Norway. Thank you again, Jonas, your government and your people. First of all, it was gas, because when they destroyed our energy infrastructure, we had gas. And sometimes we used more gas because of the electricity deficit. And we received this additional gas mostly from Norway. Of course, we also had certain other contracts. We worked with the EBRD, with Norway. We worked with some other partners. But from Norway, as I asked, we received this support practically immediately. Second, it concerned Pearl. As I said during my speech, we had a lot of challenges. We were waiting for missiles for the Patriots, especially PAC-3 missiles, because this winter we had many attacks. And not only with cruise missiles, there was a lot of ballistics too. It was a really big challenge. And you know that only PAC-3 works against ballistic missiles, PAC-2 does not. We used this opportunity from the United States, we received it, and I think that Norway was one of the biggest donors to this program. And one of the fastest, and that was very important. Next, we have NASAMS. You know, there is this NASAMS infrastructure. This is not about 1, 2 or 5 systems, it is more. I do not want to share the exact number here, but all NASAMS are working to protect energy. Because we have 230 priority facilities. We have more overall, but there are 230 priority sites that need to be protected. And this is difficult, but some of them were protected by NASAMS, and we are grateful for that.
1 + 1, please.
Alina Chernyakova, Channel 1+1, TSN. Mr. President, a question for you. Against the backdrop of the successful attack on the Votkinsk plant, we have a question about Flamingo missiles. They have been striking more often and more accurately. Have we managed to improve them and reach the production volume we planned? What you planned directly? And also about defense. Yesterday you said we received part of the Patriot missiles from the package. Did that significantly strengthen us? And when do we expect the next batch? What can you say here? Because we understand this is classified. Thank you.
We have carried out accurate Flamingo missile strikes at a range of 1,400 kilometers. I consider this a real success for our industry. As I said, they have been hunting our Flamingo production. As I said, we had to wait a long time to renovate the production line because of the relevant Russian attacks. They will increase the numbers. It depends on finance and on some components. Depending on the number, we will have more successful strikes. Because, let me put it this way, I will not say how many Flamingos were used this time. I just want to say, there were interceptions by Russian air defense, there were non-interceptions, and there were clear hits. But the most important thing is that all the missiles that were launched, all of them reached the target. And I think this is the most important success. So we are talking about high quality, a good operation and accuracy. I'm grateful for this. As for or is it all?
Patriots.
Yes, Patriots. As for the number, I can't tell you. At Ramstein we discussed it with partners and everyone expressed readiness to provide a portion of missiles. This was in coordination with Minister Pistorius, the Minister of Defense of Germany. And I simply said that I am grateful to partners that half of what was promised arrived in the first package. I don't know, I can't tell you.
Please. Last question is from Norway, NTV. My question is for President Zelensky. 1 year ago, when you marked 3 years of this war, you said you hoped that the war would end within a year. What is your outlook now? When could the war end? And what are your hopes for Ukraine's future? And I have a question to the Prime Minister of Norway as well. You said here today that one day 100,000 Ukrainians who are in Norway will be able to go to Ukraine. Is there a discussion in Norway about whether men from Ukraine, who arrived as refugees, should be sent to Ukraine, so that they join the fight? Have you discussed this with the President today? And what is your view on this issue?
This morning I had a briefing from Rustem Umerov. He is on his way to Switzerland. Tomorrow there will be a bilateral meeting between Ukraine and the American side. They will talk and they will prepare an economic document. In parallel, we are working on a 20-point plan, security guarantees and also a prosperity package. Our economic team is also with him. They will talk tomorrow and, of course, During such a dialogue they will raise all issues, the sequence of steps, how to end the war, and so on. And I will get this information. We understand that the Americans want to end this war as soon as possible. But in my view, the difficulties now are not only on the military track. I discussed it with our partners yesterday. Generals in a trilateral manner, generals from Ukraine, the United States, and Russia, spoke about how to monitor a ceasefire when it comes. The problem is political will to stop this war and the question of territories. These are the difficulties we have. Nothing new between us, nothing new. Tomorrow they will try to talk, and I think they will speak in the first days of March in a trilateral format. I hope this meeting will happen, and of course we need prisoner exchanges. That's where we are. But I am not sure that tomorrow we will have a clear result on land and territories, for example. Because these issues, as I repeat again and again, in my view, have to move to the level of leaders. Thank you.
Regarding your question, we do not send people home from Norway. We have taken in these hundreds of thousands of people from Ukraine. And yes, you are right, in the recent period more young people have arrived from Ukraine, and we need to review migration legislation to do this correctly. But the mobilization process, the defense of Ukraine, is a matter for Ukraine. It is not something we decide. And we want there to be a stable framework for those people who come to Norway. And we are also in close contact with our Ukrainian partners,